I got my boy here, and I need to combine these because obviously if I'm sewing something, I don't want to have to sew like this whole thing and it have like a top on it. I want to sew this to where it lines up with the head. So what I can do is I can combine both of these objects by holding the shift key and selecting another, and I can press Control J, or I think go to Object Join, and now it is basically the same layer together. They're still intersecting objects, but with this layer together. So there are two ways you can go about doing this. This first way, I'm going to give it a shot. It might make geometry a little funky wonky, but so does the other way. Now, if you're going to, I'm going to use sculpt mode, and it's going to basically say combine these two objects into a single object so that it is no longer two intersecting objects. So I'll turn this X-ray mode on so you can see it's two intersecting objects right now. If I go to sculpt mode, I'm going to select it, go to sculpt mode. I can use remesh. Remesh will only work if your objects are solid and do not have any holes. If I were to delete this point on the top, if this has a hole in it, it's going to do weird stuff when you use remesh. So if you have holes in your mesh, I'll show you the other way to do it if you don't want to fill in the holes of your mesh. But for now, I'm gonna show you remesh first. Actually, before you go into sculpt mode and do anything like that, object apply all transforms. Mostly scale is the important one, because scale can really throw things off, especially I think for when you're using the remesh with the voxel size stuff. So for remesh, they have to be joined together into one object, and you go to sculpt mode, and you can press remesh. Save before you remesh. Save before you remesh. So I'm gonna hit remesh on there, and now what that has done, combined them. As you can see, it's no longer two pieces intersecting. It's not the best, as you can see. It kind of, I don't have a super clean line here where the neck joins the body. I can work with that, or I can remesh it and try making it a bit smaller. Don't go too low, because then it's going to be like, oh, I see, you want an absurd amount of polygons? Okay, we're going to make your computer cry about it. Turn on, in my viewport overlays here in this top right, I'm going to turn on to statistics. That will show me how many polygons he has. Faces, that is 300,000 faces. That is a lot. Imagine trying to select every single little line of these to say, I want this to be a seam. So, like, I want this, and this, and this. All of these one by one. No, that's a pain in the butt. That's just too much. You don't want your stuff super high poly, especially if you're cutting seams. You can, especially if you're going to use the knife tool to cut your seams and not use existing geometry, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Keep it simple. Anyway, I'm going to undo making this monstrosity. Oh, I can't undo enough to unremesh it, so I'm just going to revert. Oh no, I saved over it. I saved it. See, that's why I like to make my backups. I'm going to join those together again, and I'm going to try farting around with remesh. Sculpt mode, you can still see the polygons. It has a lot more polygons, so I can smooth it out. Shift key or this smooth, and smooth it. Crunchy edges be gone. So now I've got my head and body joined together. Oh yeah, I need to fix his head. Ooh yeah, his head is super flat. I'm going to use this inflate tool, and I've got my mirror turned on. Play around here with my sculpting tools until the head is shaped how I want it to be. And this is where matte caps and stuff can come in handy, because obviously, see, it's like smooshed into the back there. So I've got this top body here, and I'm back in object mode. I'm going to try lowering this polygon count, and to do that, I'm adding another modifier. I'm going to decimate. So under generate, I believe it is decimate. And decimation is going to mathematically reduce polygons. Think about this as percent, 100%. If I want half as many polygons, so if I want it to be about, if it's 140K right now, and I put this at 0.5, it's going to drop it to 70. That's still a lot. You can work with that if you want to. I don't like to work with that high, so usually I'll drop it to like 0.25 or even 0.1. Yeah, that's nice and lowish. It's lower, that's for sure. I'll work with that. I'm going to apply this. I don't want it to be as dense as it was. Okay, so there's method one of combining the head and body, and from here, basically what you would do is you would go into edit mode and use this knife tool and cut. click on from one side to the other. As you can see, once you press the enter key, it will highlight them in orange. That means they're selected, and when they are selected, you can then go to Edge Mark Seam. You need seams to be able to unwrap it. Think of them as sewing, literally sewing seams. Wherever you put a seam, that's where you're gonna have to sew together. Mark seams. Mark seam. So there's one way to do it. Another way to combine these two pieces without using remesh, I'm going to go to save incremental. Here we go. I'm back to my original version, and I'm not going to join these two pieces. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to hide one. So let's see. I'm going to hide that body piece, and I'm going to select the head. I'm going to add a modifier. It's going to be a generate modifier because it will create new polygons. And I want it to add the body to this head. And to do that, I'm going to use a Boolean operation. Now, these can crash your shit, so definitely save before you use Booleans. And also, the more you add, like if you add multiple Booleans, the more it's going to process and really chug. Especially if you try and edit while you have a live Boolean, because then it has to recalculate in lifetime. Turn them off with this, or remove them and make your changes, and then add them back. I want union. I want to combine mesh. I want to add the body, and sometimes it might not work. It has to do with weird normals and stuff. You can try changing the solver to fast, or if it's on exact, you can try adding self-intersection, click around on these, and if it still doesn't work, whatever object you're trying to combine to it, so in this case it would be the body, you might have to go into edit mode and make a few mesh changes to the body, just kind of move things around, and that might help the normals recalculate to where it works. I don't really understand it. I just know that it is a pain in the butt when it happens. I can apply this. This is much faster than remesh, and your topology is going to stay basically how it was originally. It is no longer two intersecting meshes. It is one hollow boy. Now, Booleans are funky wonky, and like, as you can see, each vertice needs like an edge. So this right here, this polygon, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Any polygon that has more than 4 points is called an n-gon. And if you're going to use Plushify, most external software, they're going to be like, the fuck is an n-gon mean? You would need to triangulate it, which would basically be like, oh, well now it has, now instead of being one polygon with 5, it's 3 triangles. So then each face has 3 points instead of this one having 5. But you don't need to think too hard on that right now. So let's see. I've combined the head and the body, and what I can do is I can select all of these. A little tedious. So I like to keep my stuff low poly. I'm in edit mode, obviously, selecting all of these. Okay, I've got everything on the neck selected here. Obviously, it's kind of jagged. I personally would I would scale it with this scale it flat. I don't know, I would just say scale it to Z, put that at 0, and that'll make it super flat. It's still super kind of weird, but it'll do the job. So I have all these still selected. I'm gonna go to Edge, Mark Seam. If you don't want to keep going to Edge, Mark Seam, you can go to Edge, Mark Seam, and then right-click, add it to your quick favorites. I've already done that. I've got Mark Seam and Clear Seam added, and you access the quick menu with the Q key. And so now I can just press Q and click Mark Seam. You can either use Edge Mark Seam, or you can add it to your thing, press Q, and use it from there. So anyway, here's my one seam. And you know, having to select completely around this guy, all the way around, that's kind of annoying. So instead, what I can do again is I'm going to go to edit mode. I'm selecting my select box here. I'm going to delete half of him. Oh, I don't have a perfect, I don't have a line of symmetry down in the middle here. I'm going to add a cut there. Good enough. I'm going to select all of these on this side. I'm going to delete them. Obviously, that's going to put a hole here. That's okay. I'm going to join these with the merge at center. Vertex, I think it's vertex merge. Mesh merge at center. Now I only have 4 points instead of like weird stuff. And I can do that with all of these. Like I could merge all of these. Frankly, I'll probably do that. Then I don't have this weird stuff, and I can double click it, bam, it'll select the entire row. And that is just a little funky wonky because that is where the objects joined. Anywhere else, it's going to be perfectly easy to select stuff if you made it out of primitive objects like a sphere. So, okay, I've got half of him here. I'm going to add a modifier. I'm just going to generate a mirror. Now I can edit half of it, and that's going to make both sides for me. And I'm going to do the same thing. I need to join this foot with the body, and I'm going to just generate a Boolean. Now, when you start stacking modifiers, whichever one is at the top is going to be executed first. So if I have this mirror, and then I say, okay, I also want you to add this ankle, I'm going to hide that ankle to this. Well, it's only going to add it to this side. I mirrored it first, and now it's adding another ankle. But if I move the Boolean above the mirror, it's going to add it and be like, oh, so I see this is on this side, so I'm just going to have to copy this over to that side. So that's one way you can play around with things. And I'm just going to do that. I'm going to apply this, and I'm going to add another Boolean, and I'm just going to say add. Now add the foot. And again, I'm going to move my Boolean up to the top. I'm going to hide that foot, and I'm going to apply it. And now he is all, again, he's one mesh now instead of intersecting bit. And I now have to... I can merge some of these if I don't like them. Now I can mark this as a seam. So that's where the foot's going to connect. How do I want to handle this? I'm going to merge these two. I don't usually Boolean stuff. Usually I just model everything as one mesh, but that's just too much for me to explain in this one video. I'll do another probably just to show you. I want this to be flat and not like whatever squiggly wiggly this is. So I'm going to select this entire ring. I'm going to scale it to 0 on the z-axis, and bam, now it's flat. I'm going to mark my seam. Oh, I still have to fix that. Merge that at last. I'll mark that. There. Let's see. This is the part where I kind of want to add a subdivision modifier. I'll see how that works. Stuff gets real funky wonky when you have n-gons like this. That's another reason why we don't like n-gons like this. Well, I mean, I could just add a line there. Now it is 4. Yeah, but triangles and stuff and weird things like this make subdivision modifiers a little silly, funky wonky. It's kind of hard to explain. But subdivision basically mathematically smooths it by calculating, you know, what's in between it. And you can use this if you want to smooth things out. It really depends on how you're modeling, what you're going to do with it. I'm just going to ignore that. All that matters is my seams here. Let's see. I want the bottom of his foot. And obviously, when I export this UV map, it's going to be like super crunchy, which is why after I test it, I will redraw all of this and smooth it out so that it looks nice and clean. But I've got this, mark my seams there. I've got this for the head. I'm going to mirror this arm. Mesh, mirror. Fine, I'll symmetrize it. -x, because it is on the -x side to +x. It will add it. I'm going to delete this side. I like to work with just half of the model, so because this is mirrored, I'm just going to join these two objects together. Object join. And now it's going to mirror all of this together as one object. Let's see, I got his foot. I need to add a seam right here in the middle. This can be a hole. So obviously this arm is just a seam straight down the middle because front back, it's the same. Body, it's going to depend on your character's markings. Right now I'm just going to make this generic penguin. So I'm going to split it in half, kind of down the middle. I'm going to hide this arm. And I'm going to use my knife tool. And I'm just going to click from this point all the way up. And clicky, press enter. And then I'm going to go to edge, mark seam. This is camera based, so it's probably not going to reach all the way to the top. Oh, it did. Wait. Yeah, okay, it did. Nice. So right now, he's pretty simple. Split straight down the middle. He's got a basic little wing here. I need to add his beak, which is this cone. And because I'm already using a mirror modifier, I'm going to delete half of this. Gonna make sure I actually have the bottom half of this cone. So let's see, the easiest way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna tell it to make a mirror modifier. And I'm gonna tell it to clip. This prevents vertices from going through the mirror during transform. So now I can just grab these where this hole is, and I can just drag it to the midline, and it will just snap them there. Perfect, perfect. Now I can ignore that mirror and tell it to Boolean the beak. But I'm going to have to. So we've got some seams started. What's really helpful to know is what is stretching too much. If this is stretching this area here, that means I need to add a dart or something here for it to actually lay flat when I cut my pattern. And then when I add my dart, it'll help it round it out, make it a spherical kind of head. So now I'm going to go into the UV mapping side of things. Going back into object mode, I've got my penguin selected. I'm going to go to UV editing and select the entire character. And then I'm going to, in edit mode, select him, go to edit mode, select all of the polygons, go to UV, unwrap, angle based. And this is kind of your sewing pattern. This is where we're gonna start getting the actual, yeah, that does look like a sewing pattern kind of thing. We do want to be able to see what is stretching, and to do that, we're gonna go to overlays. I think I want to see the UV stretch. Actually, it's not stretching very bad. But I think I'm gonna try area. The more yellow an area is, the more stretch it has. Ideally, you kind of want it to look like nice and smooth. Okay, in edit mode with your stuff selected, you can go to live unwrap, and then like whenever I add a seam, it'll automatically unwrap, so I don't have to keep going selecting it, unwrapping. I feel like it might need a dart, so I'm going to use my knife tool. The keyboard shortcut for it is K. I'm just going to try adding a dart like right here, just to see what happens. I'm gonna select that, mark it as a seam. Okay, yeah, I think it's this, and that basically doesn't do anything, so I'm gonna remove it. I don't need a dart, apparently. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It looks like I need a dart here, but that's going to change once I add, yeah, see, now it's less stretchy, but that's going to change once I add the beak here, and also once I mirror it. Oh, I've got a mess happening. I'm in object mode right now, but I'm using Alt B. That it's just gonna clip. It's like a box view. Yeah, okay, I've got some stuff. Yeah, no wonder the UV map had funky stretch and tension there. It has polygons from my failed Boolean on the inside. So I'm just gonna delete those. Okay, that's fixed. Well, I'm gonna give him an eye, so I'll turn my references back on. Oh, I'll probably fix this head shape a little too. There. Oh, I've made a bit of a mess. I'm gonna use this proportional editing tool here, up here. And that's kind of like sculpt mode light, and it's just gonna kind of move multiple vertices at once. Adding eye. I'm gonna use the knife tool, so like this is where you would add markings and extra seams. So let's see, knife tool, I'm just gonna trace this guy's eye. Well, something like it. I'm gonna turn off X-ray mode though, that's throwing me. I need X-ray mode though. I'm gonna use my little Alt B. That way I can only see the front polygons. That's completely optional, but I'm just gonna give this guy some eyes. And they don't have to be super duper high poly. It's easier to work with low poly than high poly. Cut those, mark that as a seam, and because this is still mirroring, it will automatically add it to that other side. Okay, I'm going to apply my mirror modifier so that I can actually add this beak now. So now it is both sides. Both sides exist. I'm just going to add Boolean union cone. I'm going to apply that. So now I have this beak. Gonna merge at last. I'm going to completely ignore this. I'm going to delete this side again, so that I can just make the mirror modifier do all that work on the other side for me. Add, generate mirror. I'm gonna cut this seam, mark seam. I'm gonna put one down the middle right here. That way the seam will kind of make it look like he's got a mouth. And I know all of these guys have funky little nostrils. Oh, that's way too far out. It needs to be like right here. Okay, so here I think is mostly my basic penguin here. Gonna apply that mirror again. So now both sides exist, and I'm gonna give him a dart down the middle of his head. Well, I'll see how that stretch looks. I know there's gonna be some stretch here. The auto unwrapping. Okay, unwrap. There, now it has both sides. There we go. Okay, I think area is the way to go for previewing the stretch in Blender, and obviously the brighter greenish yellow, the more stretch it is. So the more yellowy green area you see, the more you kind of want to add either a dart or a seam, because the yellow basically is saying, well, this is a very round part, and if I cut this out, it might look really flat around here. Here, really wants one here, so I'll try that. No, that doesn't do anything. I need to make sure that I don't have any double polygon. Select this guy in edit mode. I'm just gonna merge by distance. Okay, remove zero vertices. I don't have any double polygon. And you have to select it all to be able to see your seam layout, unfortunately. These are the flippers. That's the bottom of the foot. That's the other flipper. This is the body. Looks like there's some extra polygons here. Where is that? 3. It's got to be the neck somewhere. Ah, there it is. Oh shoot, I lost it. There you are. It's a little weird spot. I'm just going to merge those. That fixes that. He's going to need a dart right here, because this is the bottom. You can see his little leg holes right here. And it's really yellowy greenish right here. That's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points from the middly bit of the bottom. So I'm just going to mark seam. There we go. That's nice and smooth now. I'm going to do the same for the back. That looks like, I think that's the back of the head. I need to add another here. Just, you know what? I'm just going to split the whole back of the head in half. There, now there's way less stress for the back of the head. Stretch, not stress. Try some darts here. I think I want one here. We'll see. No, that doesn't do anything here. These look like, these are probably his ankles. I didn't do a vertical seam yet on this cylinder, because I wanted to do a seam along with the foot like that. Mark seam. And another thing I can do is I can just symmetrize, mesh symmetrize, but I want it to be positive x to negative, and it'll mirror that for me. But I have to unwrap everything again. Oh, it's giving me a non-uniform scale warning, which means I didn't apply my transforms somewhere along the way. Usually that's what that means. Okay, yeah, this guy's really simple. I think that's all I need. Now, do take note when you are making a plush toy like this. If I were to make the round out the feet as to simulate it having stuffing, that would make the bottoms of the feet larger than they need to be. So like this tummy area and all that, this might come out larger when I sew it. So let's see, this is all of this. I think he's done for my base penguin anyway. I'm gonna just unwrap, make sure he's unwrapped again, angle base, and I'm going to export this. Now, I personally am going to look into making an add-on or something that will export this at real world scale. I'm gonna make a new image, and I'm gonna call this penguin UV map. And I'm still in the UV window here. I'm just gonna make the color white, blank, and I'm gonna make this like huge. Well, okay, it's going to export as a square. So let's see, how big is a 8.5 by 11 in pixels? 2,500. I'm gonna try putting that in here. 2,500. New image. Now see, my stuff is super duper close. Well, not too super close, but you know, these are really close together. I'm gonna unwrap it again with angle-based unwrap, but I'm gonna open this little thing. I'm gonna adjust the margin just a smidge. Now I have a little bit more space between my UV islands. These are called UV islands. As you can see, like this is the face. Let me show you. You can select by thing. So let me select linked here. I'm going to tell it to delimit to UV. Yeah, see, if you want to see what's what, I think it's select linked. Yeah, and you can change the setting from like seam or UVs, and that will let you select by where you've cut. So you can see like, oh, well, if this whole body is turning orange when I select by seam or UV island, that means that one of these edges didn't get cut like it needs to be, and that means you need to find a little lost bit. But yeah, so you can select and be like, oh yeah, see, that's what the bottom, that's what that foot looks like. But yeah, I can select and be like, okay, no, that's the front, That's the back, all that good stuff. Now I'm going to export this. I'm going to save as, so it'll be UV, export UV layout. And I want my fill opacity 100%. I'm just going to save over this. And that should come in pretty large, ideally. Okay, so this would be the pattern piece fitting on a single sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. So this would be a super teeny weeny tiny pattern. I haven't come up with a decent way to math out, like, to automate a process for scaling. But let's see. Let's say I want this guy to be. Let me exit. I'm gonna exit object mode. I'm gonna go back to layout here just because it's nice and easy to view. And in object mode, there is this ruler tool, this measure tool. I'm just gonna go from top to bottom, and because he's currently 4.17 meters tall, so obviously that's massive, but our UVs don't export to scale. But let's see, I'm going to change my units to inches here. Units under this funky scene thing, change it to the dirty freedom units, put that at inches. And I'm going to add a mesh cube that is 12 inches, my 12-inch cube here. And because it's, it's center, technically it's 6 inches into the ground, and 6 inches of it is sticking up out of the ground. So what I can do is I can move the location, I think it is the Z, up 6 inches. Bam. Obviously you don't need to be that precise, but basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this guy to be 12 inches. He's going to fit in that box just like that. I'm going to apply my scale. So now he's, and so if I want him to be 12 inches tall, I'm going to measure. Let's see, I'm going to measure his little wing. So his wing needs to be about 3 inches long. And this is the part where I do weird art program stuff. I know there's probably a way you can do this outside of this, but I'm going to make a 3-inch by 3-inch square. I'm just going to fill it, copy paste that into this. Usually I make 1-inch squares, so this is massive to me. But anyway, so I've got this. This is my 3-inch little square guide, and I'm just going to use my transformer tool, and I'm going to scale this wing until it is 3 inches roughly, like this. So now this is how big he needs to be, come out at about 12 inches tall. And ideally, like, I can hopefully learn some Python and maybe make a little add-on that will scale it for you, because I just love to be able to do all this in Blender. But this is how big it'll need to be. So I'm going to make sure edit change. Okay, you're going to be 20.5 by 20.5, and you're going to be penguin. Let's say that as a PNG here. And now I'm going to try loading it into Blender. I'm going to see, yeah. So now my UV map is going to be at the scale that I want it to be. There we go. I'll just scooch all that stuff around till it is in place roughly. Good. So now I've got this gigantic image, and now I can go into texture paint mode and label him, but I have to set up his materials. So let me show you materials here. You can turn on the material view color. He has no material right now, so you select your little guy. You can do this in any object mode, layout view, whatever. You select your guy in object mode, and you got to go down to this little material panel, and you can just make a new material. I'm gonna call it penguin pattern. I can't spell penguin, but I don't care. And I'm gonna change this base color node to an image texture, and I'm gonna tell it to use my penguin map. So now, if I turn on texture, yeah, okay, you can see it's a little jank right now, but now you can see the image is set on this guy. And now I can go into texture paint mode, and I can just paint over everything here. Because this image is so big, it's gonna chug hardcore. Ew. Usually I will do this and then scale up, but I wanted to try this. This is the part where I label tummy. Fur needs to go that way, and then this is the back. Fur needs to go this way. This is the arm. I am not going to bother differentiating between the front and back. They are literally the same, so I'm just going to do one arm, and then tell I need ×4. Well, no, I need 2, and then 2 more that are flipped. Here's just an eye, beak, top. This is going to be his face. I want the fur to go this way. Well, the pile. I'm imagining I'm making him in Minky. And now with this setup, what you can also do is if you want alignment marks, you can like draw some Yeah, there it is, around way down there. I'm gonna make it really big so we can see it. I can also turn on mirroring here and go, and it should, yeah, it'll mirror across. And you can make your own little alignment marks if you want. That's what I did for my Buizel a while ago. And then once you've kind of drawn all over your dude however you want, you can image save as, and I'm going to save this as penguin map labeled. There we go. Now this should be a massive 20-inch ass image, hopefully. Let me see here. Yeah, okay, the size is this. And then with that, I use Posterizer, but there's probably much more modern stuff. And you can either you can manually lay these out yourself on a sheet of paper, or you can use something like Posterizer. And I'm gonna say import my image here, 300 DPI, massive. And I'm gonna say I want it on letter paper, and I don't care if the borders are a centimeter. And this is just where it's going to overlap, so it'll print off onto this little bit, but this is where you would overlap your pages and tape. And this would be, okay, it will take 4 sheets of paper, and ideally, I'm not going to have this gray background. That shit should be white, so that I'm not wasting my ink. So I can make a mask and fix that. And then I can print that out, cut them out, or revise and sew it up together and adjust it from there. This is the part where you do the trial and error bit of you sew it, and then if stuff looks weird, you can cut it up while you're sewing it and tweak it. I'll look into better ways to export a UV map to scale. I just need to find out like the actual pixel size, and I could like make a little script that's like, it assumes by default you want a 12-inch plush, or maybe I could ask some of my programming friends. You can export UV maps as SVG files if you want to edit in like Illustrator. It's vector based. That is just a feature of Blender. So basically, you can do what Seams to Sewing Pattern does without having to use the add-on that just kind of does some of the steps for you. But I've never been able to get them to work, so maybe doing them manually will help me get them working. So I'm gonna experiment with that. But in the meantime, this is a silly kind of way to get your plush rough draft to scale, and obviously a UV map is not going to work perfectly the way a nicely done sewing pattern is. The most accurate way to do that, to get a pattern similar to this, would be to sculpt and then do the tape method, where you put the tape on it, you cut the tape off of it, and then you make a pattern from there. You know, your duct tape dummy standard stuff. But this is a nice starting point, and this also works a bit for doing EVA foam patterns. I made my my Antenna head pattern with this. I've made a tattoo thing. I took my friend's scan of their arm, and I drew a tattoo from Transformers for them, and then gave them the UV map so that they could get it printed and have it made as like a temporary tattoo they could apply to themselves. You could use this for clothing to some degree. You will just need to make some tweaks as needed, but it'll get you pretty far. It's not perfect, but it's pretty dang good. This is probably absurdly long. I wanted it to be shorter, but it is what it is. And I'll make like a much faster tutorial, or if I make an add-on or something, I'll share that. It'd be great. I think this is a 2-hour recording. Jesus. Well, see ya.